What's up, Magnetic Men Club? We are back here on this Friday for another live video. Today's topic's all about low testosterone, kind of the effects of low testosterone. Obviously, if you've ever felt kind of tired, run down, you're not feeling motivated, you're not really feeling like maybe you want to. One second, hold on. My audio's weird. Is that it? No. Sorry about that. My audio is being weird. Anyway, it's all about basically feeling run down. Like if you've ever felt run down, if you've ever felt like you just don't want to do something, you're feeling kind of lethargic, I guess, for lack of a better word, is really what it is. You probably have low testosterone. You're probably suffering from low testosterone in some way. And so that's really what today's topic's all about, is kind of how to overcome that, the different things that you can do to kind of boost your testosterone levels, because obviously a lot of it comes down to lifestyle stuff. A lot of it comes down to the activity that you're doing every single day, maybe what you're eating. A lot of it comes down to like being overweight and things like that too, because obviously there's a lot of foods and a lot of things in your diet. There's a lot of things in activity that just boost your estrogen instead of testosterone. And so that's really what it is. It's just hormones, the same thing we deal with when we're teenagers, right? It's all just the hormones that kind of make us men versus the hormones that kind of make us women. And so that's really what we're talking about today. And obviously, as you get older and older, this stuff starts to kind of fall, kind of drop. You're going to suffer a little bit more from it. Your body's going to stop producing these different things. And so that's what we're here to talk about today. I'm Chase, here with my good friend Jared.
Hey guys, Jared here. Hope everyone's doing well.
So, I mean, I know that you've dealt with it a little bit. I think all of us, to a certain extent, have kind of dealt with this over time. Even younger guys and stuff, too, in their early 20s, they start to deal with this stuff, too. And so, I mean, it's really not obvious to you. You just feel tired, right? You just feel like you just kind of run down. You feel like something's wrong, something's off. You just don't feel like yourself. A lot of those kinds of things. What's been your experience with low testosterone?
Yeah, all of that. It's about when I was 30, I just did a video on this, 35, 36, something like that. Probably even started when I was 33. I started noticing that I was just slowing down. I was just kind of in a funk sometimes, or just this haze. And I always stayed active in the gym, but I wasn't really progressing much in the gym. I was actually felt like I was going backwards a little bit. I was way more sore. My recovery was a lot slower, and I just kind of lost ambition, if you want to maybe a better word for it. Just lost ambition, lost drive.
That's a good way to put it, for sure.
And being a vet, every year we have a physical, complete physical, and so the doctor, was like, anything changed? I said, has anything changed in the last year? And I kind of explained it to him. He goes, yeah, well, he's reading my blood work, and he's like, on the spectrum, it goes deciliters per milliliter. So it goes from 100 up to, say, 1,200. 1,200 on the very high end. That's like an 18-year-old, 17-year-old raging testosterone. But the norm, depending on age group, and it's a big fluctuation. If you go on Google and look, there's such huge swings on what the norm is. But we're just going to use the norm be in the middle. It should be 500 to 600. I was at 300. And so he put me on. In the video, I talk about some of the things the doctor will probably want you to do prior to going on TRT, is like exercise, diet, all of those things. But I was already doing all those things. So he said, okay, well, we can put you on TRT. So they started a regimen for me, and 3 weeks, maybe a month. I just kind of started kicking in, and my gains were getting better. My clarity was getting better. I had my drive again. I kind of had that spunk. Obviously, your libido, will be politically correct. My libido was intact. And it all stemmed from low testosterone. So it is a big thing for men. I mean, that is what drives a man, testosterone. That is our gas.
Right.
So when we get low on that, or we're running low on it, everything else is going to suffer. Everything. And it's something as you get older, like you said, as you get older, by the time you're 30 years old, of the studies that I read, is your testosterone levels will drop at 1% per year. So, if you're technically at 100% at 30, by the time you're 40, you're at 90. Time you're 50, you're at 80. And I think it's probably less than that, but that's
definitely. Yeah.
And, you're right. Since 1986, across the board, testosterone levels have dropped for men 25%. And you can't tell me they're not putting shit in the food. You can't tell me, they're doing, increasing estrogen, for a whole other topic. But I do think they want men feminized. I think they want men not to have such of a drive because it's easier to control. But we won't get into that. We'll get into.
I realized a lot of that. Like, there is a lot of truth to that, because like when I moved to Mexico, there was a big difference in the kind of food that you can find. I remember when I was back up in Utah, back in Vegas and stuff, when I was living there, like a lot of it was fast food. I mean, obviously, fast food is not good for you. Fast food is not going to be any good for you at all. Like a lot of the fats and the sugars and different things that you're going to find there, that's going to drop your T levels.
Yeah.
A lot of the activity, right? Like a lot of kids nowadays, like they're not out doing things anymore.
Yeah.
Most, like I've seen it with my kids, like they're home playing games all day. Like they don't even want to go outside. They don't want to go do anything. When I was a kid, dude, I was outside every single day. With all the kids outside, pretty much riding my bike, going for hikes, climbing trees. That was all I did when I was a kid. And I haven't seen my kids even interested in that at all.
Yep.
And so I know that there's a big correlation with activity. Like I started working with a fitness coach maybe a year and a half ago. And that was the first thing he tried to tackle. He's like, you need to go get your blood work done. First thing, you need to give me your blood work results. And he kind of curated my nutrition around it, essentially. And like he curated a lot of the activities and stuff that we were doing. He curated a lot of the exercises that he had me doing. And so when we first started, like he had me doing a lot of really physical things. Like he had me doing a lot of leg exercises, a lot of squats, that kind of stuff, because they were full body exercises. Mm-hmm. And so he didn't even want to play. Like he's like, we got to boost your testosterone, we got to get your energy back. Because that's the one thing I told him was like, I'm not really looking to be like super ripped. I really just want to make sure that I have maximum energy. That's really the thing that I cared about the most. And so that's what he really focused on, was what we were eating and stuff too. He's like, okay, you can't eat out anymore. He's like, the first and foremost, like you got to stop eating pizza. You got to stop eating burgers and all that kind of stuff. You got to cook at home. And so the way that he kind of put it for me was that like, you want to eat stuff that's fresh. You want to eat stuff that's grown. And so that's the biggest thing too, is like understanding like fresh meats. I don't think lean meats, red meats really play into this as much. But the thing is too, is like everything that's packaged in plastic, like this is all down to a scientific level. Yeah. And how it's kind of dropping testosterone levels, how it's kind of affecting you. And like I said, you don't really know that it's happening until you go get your blood work and you kind of see what those levels are. But the things that will tip you off is like feeling that lethargic, feeling like, you don't want to go do anything, like a disinterest in everything, like even a disinterest in like going out with friends, a disinterest in having sex, that kind of stuff too. Like all of these things can affect it majorly. So it affects many aspects of your life and affects your ambition completely. Yeah. So it makes you feel like you don't want to do anything. So you can imagine that if your T levels were to increase, what that does to your lifestyle, to your life, the things that you want to achieve, the things that you'll go out and do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me, again, it was just, I needed to do something or I didn't really even know TRT at that point. I'm like, what is that? And it's good when you go under supervision of a doctor because they're doing blood work typically, if not every 6 months, at least once a year, and kind of adjusting for there. And but again, there's a lot of things like Chase alluded to you can do to increase your T levels naturally if you're a young man who's just plays video games all day, who doesn't get active. Working out is one of the best things you can do to naturally increase your testosterone. Now, I'm not a personal trainer. Chase, obviously, we're not a personal trainer, but we both go to the gym. I'm 48 years old. If you saw me in person, most people, I do not look like a 48-year-old. I don't. I take care of myself. I eat
Right.
as best I can. I travel a lot, but I do more good for my body than not. And you see it, man. Some of these kids that if I'm walking around in the mall or whatever, and I'm like, God, this dude's 24, and they got really weak arms. They're soft. They're just shaped soft. You can't tell me your T levels aren't low. I know they are because you're basically just playing Dungeons and Dragons or whatever the hell you're doing all day.
Right.
You're not out there. You're not being active. You're probably not eating well. You're probably eating takeout. And so all of these things, you might think if you're a young man watching this right now, it's okay in your 20s. Man, when it catches up to you in your 30s or 40s, that's a hard road to go back to because the things I've done in my 20s and even in my 30s has helped me into my 40s, staying in the gym, all of this. So it's natural for me to go to the gym. It's natural for me to do these things. The only thing that became unnatural was just my own body's T levels were starting to wane, and I needed, I had an opportunity and I took it, obviously. But
Right.
if you are a young man or if you're even maybe your mid 30s and you're kind of feeling these signs and these symptoms, go to a doctor, man. Just get your blood work. Tell him or her, excuse me, what's going on. It used to be taboo. Most doctors probably 10, 15 years ago, at least 10 years ago, oh my God, testosterone. No, that's illegal in the West. Well, it's funny. It's only illegal in the United States. Everywhere else,
Right.
you can get steroids on the freaking corner. And
Oh, it's
so
easy in Mexico. I'll tell you
it's easy in Mexico. So the only thing I want to say about that is the U.S. and maybe England, I don't know. They found a way to make money off of it, and they became the drug dealers. Now they do it more smart, they do it more scientific and stuff, but a lot of these other countries, they laugh at TRT. They're like, dude, I can just go get a bottle of steroids and take care of myself. Now, I'm not suggesting that. We're not promoting that. I'm not telling you to do that. But all of a sudden, it became a good idea for men to have at least optimal levels or higher than optimal levels. All of a sudden, it's a good idea. Well, we're programmed and we run basically our best at optimal levels. That's 93 octane for men right there is the testosterone. If we got
Right.
testosterone and we have it in plenty amounts, that's what we need, kind of need a little bit of aggression, kind
I
of
think
need that.
it's pretty equivalent to gas too, like the octaves that
gas.
you find in gas. Because like if you put bad gas in your car,
Mhm.
you know for a fact that when you stomp on that gas pedal, like it's just you're just kind of putting along. And so that's the biggest thing is understanding that like the more octaves that you have in your gas,
Mhm.
the faster your car's gonna go, more combustion you're gonna have, the easier it's gonna be for that car to run. Your body's no different. And that's really what testosterone is for men.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, and a lot of it, like you said, we're gonna have a good friend of mine, Johnny Callis. We're gonna bring him on because he wrote a book. The dude's 50. He's probably 53 years old right now. And we're gonna do a video on this, but this dude has wrote this short book full of citations, so he knows he's not full. Like he can say, go look it up yourself. He talks about all these foods that he claims are healthy, but all it is a marketing ploy. And he talks about how it takes your testosterone levels and just runs them right down. You would think like peanuts. He goes, no, peanuts are some of the worst things. There's certain types of peanuts that are good, but your general like mixed nuts,
That's
like your
interesting.
basic one, he goes, that takes away testosterone. It increases your estrogen levels. So a lot of the things that he says help you or are good for you, they're not. They're good for you in some ways, but if you're trying to maintain or optimize your testosterone levels, you stay away from these. It was even some fruits. I don't remember everything. There were some fruits. He said no. So I want to get him on, and we're going to kind of do this and talk about men's
Yeah,
health.
that'd be awesome.
This dude's 53 years old. He looks like a piece of steel, and he does not take steroids. He even has his blood work in the book. He's not even on TRT. The dude looks like he's been carved out of freaking steel, and he maintains that all year long. And so I think he'd be a good one we should bring on just to kind of talk a little bit about this, and obviously men's health on the nutritional side and some of the things we do that. But he mentioned there's some foods that you think would be great for you, horrible for you. For testosterone, it might be good for you to eat, but horrible for that. And going back to younger guys, like my son, he's 19 years old. He didn't really fall into the gaming trap. He did for about a year or two, and then he kind of woke up. He said, this is stupid. Call of Duty was his thing, but he literally sold his computer. And this was right kind of during COVID. He started working out with me at home. We had a Bowflex. We only had a couple free weights. But we got him into a schedule where he started getting success, and he started really packing on muscle, and he was coming right into that time where really he was 15, 16 going into there, so he was really hitting that stride. And man, he would sit in his room for hours, eat garbage, and it took probably a good 2 months of doing this. His body completely transformed. He stays at the gym now about 3 days a week. I wish he went more, but at least he's maintaining that. It's just finding somebody, if you're a younger guy, finding a buddy to go to the gym with, finding somebody who might have some experience, a little bit more experience, and just ask them to tag along. Guys in the gym, they want to help other people. We're not like
they do. Yeah.
We want to help. Like, listen, we're not going to do the work. I'm not going to do the rep for you, but here's what you should be doing. And you don't have to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm not saying any of that, but just get in the best physical shape you can for your genetics. Your T levels, especially if you're younger, for the most part, are probably going to be fine. There are some outliers, of course, where you do all of that and you still have low T. Well, then obviously you got to talk to your doctor and see what she or he can do for you. But most of this can be corrected by getting under a bar, eating correctly, just putting in some work. Most of it can just self-correct itself. Going into depression or feeling depressed, feeling kind of just down. Again, getting those serotonin levels cranked up by hitting the gym. That's pulling your testosterone. It's just everything's amplified in you. And so if you want a high, if you run a really good high, just stay consistent in the gym. You'll feel better. You'll start looking better. You'll start getting little wins, and then you'll stick with it. It's a habit you'll stick with, you know?
So that's the thing too, is I know that like even like your sleep schedule, a lot that can have a lot to do with it too. Like I know that for me, when I was working with my trainer, when I was trying to optimize my energy levels, because that was the most important thing to me. Like I didn't really care about getting shredded, anything like that. I mean, obviously, that's something to strive for. You want to look good, obviously. People that look good are attractive. They attract the things to them. So like that's the thing too. When I mean like attractive, right? I mean obviously it's attractive to everyone, and you attract everything to you with your style, with looking good, with looking healthy. Like people are kind of programmed to avoid people who don't look healthy because they like over time, over evolution. If you look like you're completely like huge, you look like you're kind of sickly, people kind of are programmed to just avoid you. So you want to look healthy. That's one of the major things too, is understanding that that's going to make you more attractive. But at the same time too, like I really care about energy optimization. Like I really want this to translate into the work that I'm doing, into how my brain power is going to. Because like if you're run down and you're feeling depressed and you're really lethargic all the time, maybe you're not getting enough sleep, that kind of stuff too. You always look kind of like you're tired. Then, that's going to translate in every aspect of your life. Obviously, you're not going to be as quality at work. You're not going to learn as many things. Your brain's going to be foggy all the time. That's something that I know Jared mentions in the video a lot. You can actually find that video down below, too, if you guys want to go check out that original video, too. He actually explains a lot more of that in there. But at the same time, I know that, like, you need to get enough sleep. So like, what are the things that can kind of affect your sleep? Like, you really shouldn't be drinking caffeine after a certain time of the day. Maybe even get rid of caffeine altogether. Maybe don't even rely on the caffeine to get up, right? And so you want to start to just kind of optimize these things. I'm not saying you have to go completely cold turkey and like completely just change your entire life overnight. It's going to be a transition phase. But here's the thing, like once you actually get to the gym, like that's like a keystone thing. When you go to the gym, like you're immediately going to feel more energized. You're immediately going to feel better. You're immediately going to want to have that translate into other aspects of your life too, if you stick with it. It's hard to get past that first week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks when you're kind of feeling like crap and you're really sore, because you're going to go to the gym the first time and it's going to kick your ass. It's going to kick your ass. It just is. And you're not going to want to go the next day, but you got to go to the next day. That's why you got to find a trainer who can really show you how to work your muscles in groups so that you're not completely overworking in one group of your muscles. You're kind of working your back on one day, you're working your traps on one day, that kind of stuff, right? You're working your legs on one day. So understanding that like there's a certain regimen and a certain process, it's something that you should follow with that, right? If you don't know what you're doing, definitely go to the gym. A lot of those guys are willing to help you, just like Jared said too.
Yeah.
But like I said, that's probably the number one thing. Like, you got to get active. At least get out and go for a hike. At least get out and start walking, right? Drink more water, drink less caffeine, that kind of stuff too. Drink less alcohol. So that's another big thing too, is like alcohol is one thing that can affect this really bad too. It's going to make sure that you don't actually sleep as well, that you don't get as quality of a sleep. I know a lot of people feel like when they go out and get drunk and they're out of the club and stuff too, like they come home and they crash, but you're not getting a quality sleep. Like you're not actually sleeping all the way. You're not actually getting into that REM sleep that's really making you feel rested and relaxed and ready for the next day. And so that's the big thing too, is understanding that there's a lot of things that you have to change. You don't have to change it all overnight. As you get in and start working out, you start feeling better. You're going to want to eat better. You're really going to want to fuel it. You're really going to want to start to maximize it. It's going to start to become a lifestyle.
Yeah. The other thing, to piggyback on sex drive, I mean, I don't think there's any guy out there who thinks that's a good thing, having a low sex drive. But low testosterone will definitely create a low sex drive for you. And it's not only that, just think about, there's a lot of men out there who can't have children because their sperm counts are so low. It's because of their testosterone. All of that is connected. So you see a lot out there where, they have the fertility doctors. You don't know if it's the woman's problem or the men's, and then they create an embryo and freeze it and all this other stuff. But low sperm count is also a direct function of low testosterone, so you have a low sperm count, which you could be sterile. You also have a low sex drive, which means you can't get it up. And then, of course, you have Viagra and you have all these other pills. And yeah, I get it. As you get older, you may need those things. You may need a medication to help get the fire going. But changing your diet, like you said, getting back into the gym, if you could do it naturally, then why wouldn't you? The other thing it affects is, you've probably seen, I start seeing it with my dad right now. He's 60. I'm just throwing it. I think he's 67. I want to say that. Man, when he was in his 20s or 30s. Now I remember him when I was a little kid, and obviously he was, a man.
Right.
Naturally, he did not really work out. And I didn't believe it, but I'll never forget this day. Naturally, he has 21-inch arms. Natural. And we taped it, and he's a short guy. He's 5'9", and he was an ectomorph. So broad shoulders, thin waist, freaking huge arms. Now I remember that as a kid, right? Now, sadly, he drank alcohol, smoked cigarettes. He kind of beat himself over this lifetime. And at 68, he has the most frailest body. His arms are like gone, basically. And of course, that was a result of him taking certain things and certain bad habits. But it was also just a function of age. And you see a lot of older men who are hunched over. They have osteoporosis. They're very thin. Well, that's low testosterone. So again, if you're a young man in their 20s who should not have low testosterone, and you keep doing the same things you keep doing, you're going to be 10 times worse if you even make it to that age because you haven't taken care of yourself.
Right.
You're going to be frail. Bone loss. You could be breaking bones sooner and all this. So it is a big thing for men. And the biggest one I want to have a takeaway here is that is our gas. Like, I firmly believe the more testosterone you can get, the better. It's like, I don't want to have minimal levels. You better maximize me, and
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
just helps everything else. And it's a very toxic substance for our bodies. Testosterone is very harsh on our bodies. This is why men have more testosterone than women do. We can handle the stress of testosterone more than women can. But
right,
your body development, if you're, again, a younger man and you don't have the same levels of testosterone maybe your dad or your grandparents have, all these developmental delays, deepening of the voice you might not have. You might have like kind of that little girl voice your whole life and all this. I'm not throwing shade at anyone watching this, but it affects everything. It affects your entire physiology.
That's true. Yeah. Like the thing, you notice that with guys who are on steroids too, like they start to change almost entirely. Like obviously too much testosterone is not a good thing for anybody.
Like
you want to make sure you stay in the optimal level. That's the thing too, is like if women have too much testosterone, they start to look like men. Like their voices get deeper. They start growing hair on their face. Like that's what it does to you. It's the man drug. That's pretty much what it is. Estrogen's the opposite, right? So obviously men who have high estrogen levels, like they're going to start to develop man titties. And that's just another epidemic that we're seeing in society too. I know the YouTuber Hamza actually talks about that a lot too.
He actually I think he just had surgery for that.
Yeah, exactly.
He did a video on that and
he had an issue with it. Yeah.
Gynecomastia, I think it's called, or gyno something.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, you either get it from steroid abuse or you can just get it from an overabundance of estrogen in your body. And you get little tits, basically.
It's science, man. It just is. And so that's the thing, too, is like if you want science to be on your side, then you need to understand the science behind it. And so it's not like we're trying to throw shade at anybody at all. These are real concerns, and these are real things that you really got to look at. These are real things that you really got to learn about, and you got to consult a healthcare professional about too. Like if you have a doctor, like if you're concerned about it, go talk to your doctor. Go do some blood work. Go try and get that stuff done so that you know what to work on. If you know you have low T levels, then you know exactly what to work on. Your doctor will give you advice on how to increase your T levels. Like I said, the first thing, get to the gym, get enough sleep, stop eating crap food. Like those are the major things, obviously. Get off your butt. Don't sit around and play video games all day. Stop jerking off. Get off the porn websites. Get off Facebook. Stop scrolling all the time too. Get your dopamine levels right. Obviously, this all contributes. It's just science. These are all chemicals that we deal with. They're chemicals in our brain. They're chemicals in our body. And this is what they affect. This is what they do. And so it's just understanding that you shouldn't, if you're a man, you probably shouldn't have as much estrogen. You probably should have a lot more testosterone. That's kind of how you want to optimize things. But the thing is, McDonald's doesn't care if they're putting estrogen in their food. The store is not really concerned about how plastic affects your food. They don't really care. And so that's up to you. Like you've got to realize that you've got to try and eat fresh. It's up to you to kind of optimize these levels in yourself. And if you are doing all of these things and you're still falling short, then obviously you're going to need some professional healthcare help.
Yeah. And the other thing too, I just kind of say with doctors, be careful who you talk to. There are a lot of doctors out there. They may mean well, but they have their own bias against this. So, if your doctor's overweight and he's trying to tell you how to be healthy, you need a different doctor. You need to find a doctor like in sports medicine, sports injuries. They're generally way more healthier. They live the lifestyle, and you're probably generally listen to them more. And if they're saying, "Hey, you need TRT," there is still a stigma out there on some doctors or some areas where they say, "Oh, you don't need that. You just need to do X, Y, and Z." Well, if you've done that, they still won't put you on there. So don't just use, "Oh, my doctor said no." If you're still having a problem, you need to go find a different doctor who can help you, who can understand it
Truth.
And go from there, because I think every man can benefit if they have low test and they've done everything else. They can always benefit to maximize their testosterone, always. And so again, that's just, a lot of doctors just seem to give you the minimum, and then you're still not doing well, and then they hem and haw and like, oh, well, we can't do this, we can't do that. Find somebody who can do what the hell it is you want to do and get you to your levels that you need to be. Do your own research. Yeah. That's the other thing too, is do your own research. But not even just doing your own research. Do something. It's only going to get worse. So you can watch all these videos. You can watch, a lot of people have paralysis of analysis. They know they have a problem, or they have some idea what the problem is. And then they do research and research and research, and they still don't go to the gym. They still don't eat right. They're doing research while eating Reese's peanut butter cups on how to get healthy. Like, it's still action. You still have to take the action. And then again, as we said, if all of that it's helping you, but not really, then get into a TRT or get into that program. But quit watching videos about going to the gym. Quit watching videos on what's the best way healthy to eat. We all know what to do. Most people choose not to do it.
That's so true. Yeah.
I love when people say, hey, you're 48, God, you always look good. What's your secret? They want a secret that nobody else knows, and then I tell them, well, I go to the gym minimum 5 days a week, about 40 minutes a day. I eat once a day. I pretty much do a fast all day, and I eat around 5 or 6. And it's just work. Oh, it's got to be something else. Fuck no, it's just, this is what I do. And so never just look for there's a secret. We're kind of telling you the secret. Eat right, go to the gym. If you're still suffering in this department, talk to your doctor. Don't just go online and watch thousands of videos. They're all telling you the same thing. Go do something, Right. And if you are a young man out there, I'm promising you, if you're 23, 24, and you're still with us right now watching this, and this is you, man, your life is going to get much worse in your 30s if you don't do something right now. Much worse. And so that we're just trying to help you understand, like, shit, okay, I better start taking better care of myself now, because it is the habits that you do today will transfer into your 30s. It'll carry you into your 40s and into your 50s and beyond. And when I look at my dad, again, 67, I'm at the gym with 60, 70, 75-year-olds that you would never know their age, and that because they told you. They look amazing and think maybe in their 50s, hard bodies, they work out hard. So the choice is you. The body that you have is your vessel. You do whatever you want with it. But the health problems that my dad has right now, breathing tubes, sometimes when it gets really hot out, he can't really do much anymore because he gets so winded. We're getting a little bit off topic, but a lot of it has to do with taking care of yourself. And of course,
that's the reality. That's completely reality.
Or lower. So keeping that active lifestyle as much as you can will obviously keep your testosterone levels at a level. And then, again, you may need some help, but don't just sit around. Don't just think that magically all this is going to get better. It's not. It's going to get worse. And because this is a Magnetic Men's channel, we want to be different. We want to set ourselves apart. And it's really easy to do. The last time I checked, it was something like 74% of all men in America between 16 and 65 are clinically overweight. Out of that number, something like 36% are morbidly obese. The numbers are higher for women. 76% of all women between that same age group are clinically overweight. 42% are obese.
That's scary.
So just on the thing, you want to be in the top 20%. You want to be in the top 20% of those people. It's very easy to do, to get in the gym and exercise, eat well. You're not going to have those health problems they're going to have down the road. And so
True.
we want to set ourselves apart. And we might have to go see a doctor and say, you know what? I've done all this stuff, Jared, and all these places said to do. I'm 35. I'm still not feeling myself. Well, then there you go. Get on a good TRT program. I promise you, you will feel amazing 3 weeks out, maybe a month out.
That feeling is worth it too.
Yeah. And you're pretty young still. You're what, 30?
33.
33. So you might even be coming to that thing in a couple years where if you're starting to feel it, you go to the doctor and because you're a tall man too, which actually is worse. It's 6'4".
Right.
How much do you weigh?
6'4", about 250.
Okay, so 6'4", 250. That requires a lot of testosterone it really does, to maintain that. You're a much bigger. You're in the top. There's 14% of the entire population is 6 foot or one. 1% of the entire population for women is over 6 foot. So you're in the top 14%, but because you're 6'4", you're roughly in that 2% thing. A lot of testosterone has to happen to maintain all of that bone density, all of that. So, in a couple of years, you might be like, shit, I better. And you're in a great place. You're in Mexico. You're in a great place.
It's a real concern.
But,
so that's the biggest thing too. It's like understanding that stuff too. It's like you can't avoid this stuff. Obviously, you got to know about it. You got to know what the science is. You got to know if you got to be if there's something else I should be doing to try and avoid this. I want to do it now. That's the biggest thing too. Is I don't want to end up in this situation and have to backtrack, because obviously, the cost for the new you is the old you. You can't keep doing all the things that you kept doing before and be that new person. You have to do all the new things all the time. That's your new life. That's your new lifestyle. This is what we're doing from now on. And so it's just realizing that this is a complete change. Like I know with what you've experienced with your dad, I experienced the same thing with my grandpa. Like I remember he was the guy that I looked up to my whole life because I didn't really have a dad. My grandpa was just this manly guy. And he was always out there doing construction, and he didn't work out at all. He had muscles. He was ripped all the time. And so now, it's the same thing as your dad. Like he can barely even walk anymore. He has to have a cane when he goes anywhere. Yeah. If we go and do something, he's got to stay in the car. Yeah. And so it's weird watching somebody that you looked up to your whole life, like as that manly person, somebody who you thought personified that stuff too. Like he was like the quintessential 50s male. Yeah. And realizing that now he's just so frail and he's just so weak, and realizing I want to spend more time with the guy because he might not have much time left.
Right.
And so realizing that I want to get ahead of that. I want to get ahead of all that. I want to make sure that I'm doing everything that I can right now to optimize all that stuff and living a different kind of life, because that's really what it means to me. And I know that's what it means to a lot of people who might be watching this too. You don't want to end up in that situation and have to backtrack and have to bounce back, because it might be really hard to bounce back if it's even possible for you to bounce back. So you want to make sure that you're getting ahead of it right now. Even if you're in your mid-20s, it's something that you want to make sure that you're really ahead of and you're really optimizing for through your 30s, through your 40s, through your 50s.
Yeah.
Because once you hit that point and you got to backtrack, it's just that much harder.
It is. And like I said, guys, I'm 48, so we can round to 50. I'm not going to do it, but I'm 48. And you just don't know how many days God gave you. So my thought process is I want to do everything I can to just feel as amazing as I can for as long as I can. Now, if I live to be 100, great. Well, I want to take care of myself as long as I can. I'll give you a quick story because this is still an amazing story. I still can't believe this to the day. When me and my wife got back together, got engaged, we bought our first house in Syracuse, where we live. And the house that we looked at, we couldn't afford much, and so I wanted a fixer-upper. And so we found this house, and it was George and Mabel Kinder. I'll never forget them because the only reason why we got the house, I came in $10,000 under, but the only reason why I got the house is because we were both in the military. He asked people, he asked the other buyers, did they ever serve? No, I did. And we got the house. Here's the kicker for this. He was on his roof. Now Mabel, his wife, fell down the stairs. She was 96 years old. She slipped and she fell down the stairs and broke her hip. And then she got sepsis, I think is how you say it. And she died. Well, but she was healthy all the way until she goes into the
Right.
hospital and dies, right? Well, she died a year and a half prior to him. Now, here's what I'm telling you about age. This dude, his neighbors told me, was just on the roof last summer. He re-roofed the front porch of the house, and he was 96. The guy across the street, Melvin, was 98. I never knew he was 98. He still worked every day. He could not stand being home.
Right.
These are the old school guys from World War II. Now, they had some testosterone going, man. They were built completely different. Now, sadly, the exact same thing happened to him. He fell down the same stairs a year and a half later. I replaced the stairs because he built them years ago, and they were so freaking like, dude, why didn't you just fix this years ago? They were so steep. He fell down, broke his hip, got sepsis the exact same way. But he lived an amazing life. He literally he was never sick. I talked to his sons. He was never sick. She was never sick. They were always healthy, but they were always active. They did everything. And so that's another testament about just staying active, just keep working, just keep plowing away, because you don't know. Like you just don't know when your last day is. You don't know when a bus is going to hit you. I would rather be active and full of piss and vinegar up until my last day than slowly being like my dad, who slowly, inch by inch, it's coming. Like, it's coming, and he's still not doing anything about it. So I just think that's a sad way to go out. I don't know.
Yeah.
Accepting your lot in life, like, oh, I could be here 5 years, I could be here 10 years. Your health is still going to deteriorate. So
I noticed the same thing with my grandpa. Yeah, like I said, he won't do anything about it either. Like, he just won't change a thing about what he does, and like he's just let it get worse and worse and worse. I've tried to help him since he was in his mid-50s, and he just won't change anything about what he does. And so that really spoke to me, because like obviously I don't want to be in my 70s and like holding on for dear life and not even able to get out of my chair. That's the thing too, is like a lot of these guys can't even walk. They can't even like go like even down the block. And like I don't want to be in that kind of situation. I don't want to have an air tube sitting next to me just to make sure that I can breathe out outside. Like, my grandpa's dealing with all the same stuff. That's like what you're talking about speaks to me, because I've seen the same thing happen, and to somebody that I really respected, and to somebody that I thought was going to be around for a really long time, because he was just in such good shape when he was younger. And as he got older, he just let it kind of fall apart. And so it's a real concern. I noticed the same thing with my wife's family too. Like, her mom obviously is really overweight. Her aunts and everybody, they're all really overweight. We watched her grandma just kind of slowly decline over an entire decade. Yeah. And it only took 10 years for her to decline as much as she did. Like, it got to a point where she had to have somebody else walk her around, and like she couldn't even make it to the family events and stuff too. And it's really sad to watch, and it's really hard to watch these guys go through all this stuff, because obviously they're not comfortable. They're not happy. They're in pain, and they've got to deal with all these different medications, all these different supplements. I mean, is it really so bad to go get on some TRT? I mean, even though you've got to take it for the rest of your life, it's better than having to be on pain medication for the rest of your life. It's better than having to supplement with that stuff, right?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, and that's the other thing too, guys. If you notice that you're gaining weight unexplained, I mean, obviously we all tend to do it. That is also a sign of low testosterone, and it goes by two ways. The things you used to do by going to the gym, now you're feeling lethargic. Now you just don't have that energy. Now you're just kind of like, You're eating more crap and you're not going to the gym, you're gaining weight. The other way too is low testosterone does affect weight gain because your body's like a furnace. The more test you have, that more that more energy that you have. It's kind of like that lifeblood, that energy. If it's fading out, you can gain some weight from that. And so that is another good sign. Like, I'm gaining weight. Like, I don't know why. Well, you could also have low test. And so you got to look into all that stuff too. But the point is, on this video too, the way I look at it is like another great example, because I still can't believe he's 78, is my girlfriend's dad works 12, 14-hour days and doesn't think anything of it. And I think he's 78, maybe he's 76, but he's between 76 and 78. Now, he looks older, don't get me wrong, but he's a freaking ox. He's just works. And the way he talks, he's very with it. A lot of guys, when they get older, they're not with it anymore. Look at Biden, for Christ's sakes. The guy's a walking corpse. But he's very with it. He's hardworking. He's just an ox. I want to be that. Like, I just want to be the ox 60s and 70s. And if I die at 80, okay, I didn't die withered away. I died the freaking ox. And I'm sure that's what her dad would want to do. He was been the breadwinner, the man of the house. Sure, he doesn't want to die withered away. He's going to want to die the ox. And it's the way I look at it, is I'm going to do everything I can to just work my ass off and just stay as vital as I can. And if I have to take TRT the rest of my life, who gives a shit? Okay.
I totally agree. Yeah.
I'd rather do that than take all these other medications to get my dick up, to have low blood pressure,
Exactly.
all of that, so I'll take the TRT,
Exactly. That's the thing too, is there's all these supplements for everything. And really, at the end of the day, like, I mean, is it really so bad? Like I said, I've watched a lot of people get older. I've watched a lot of people in their 50s, their 60s, their 70s. I'm sure you guys know some people in your own life who are kind of dealing with this same stuff. And like I said, I mean, you watch them get on pain medications. You watch them have to take all these other pills for different things. And it's just like, and they're just living too. They're not even happy. They don't even want to be in that situation. Like, they're just in pain all the time. If I can still go out and hang out with my kids when I'm 75 years old, if I can still go out and work, be in that 12-hour shift and not be in pain the whole entire time, even if I died when I'm 80, yeah, it doesn't matter, man. At least I lived every single day up until that point. I don't want to be in a chair taking pain medication, having to be on oxygen just to make sure that I can skate by the next 3, 4, 5 years. I've watched it happen to too many people. And like I said, I mean, it scares the hell out of me. And so for me, if I can get on top of it now and make sure that I never end up in that kind of a situation, I don't care what I have to take. If it's TRT, like I said, that's better than pain medication. So
right. But like you said, it starts with just the basics: getting to the gym, eating right, really starting to do research on certain foods that you think might be helping you and they're not. There's lots of books out there. You can Google it. You can, you self-educate yourself. And we will get Johnny on here because he's just like a walking encyclopedia.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah,
for sure.
And but yeah, that's just the thing. Is just kind of taking your own healthcare seriously, because doctors, they're really not. They're more after there's a problem than you go see them. They're never really pro do this to avoid stuff. You always go to a doctor when there's a problem. So you want to take your own health and really educate yourself and do this. And TRT, again, a lot of doctors, there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of misinformation, but it's up to you to educate yourself and to make that decision.
Exactly.
It's probably something I should do. And if it is something you should do and you have done the research and your doctor says no, find a different doctor. I'm just going to do that, because some doctors don't believe in that. So,
Well, and that's the thing too, is like everybody has a variable amount of intelligence. Just because somebody's a doctor doesn't mean they're the best doctor in the world, doesn't mean they have your best interest in mind. You got to look for people who look how you want to look. It's the same thing when you're looking for a trainer. It's the same thing when you're looking for a business coach. No matter what you're looking for, you want to find somebody who is or looks like they are where you want to be. That's just a general rule of thumb for any of that stuff, right?
Yep. No, I agree. I agree. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I think we might even have a shorter one today, huh?
Yeah, no, we're right at the top of the hour right now. So, I mean, it's pretty average rate right now. So, I think that that's pretty much all we have for you guys today. And like I said, if you guys have any questions on this topic, if you guys want to know anything about it, you guys have any requests on things that you want us to kind of talk about, then please feel free to drop in the chat here. Feel free to go drop us a message on our website. We're definitely happy to do that. If you're not in our Facebook group, definitely go join our Facebook group. The link is below. And maybe just make a post there too if you guys want to talk about some of this stuff too. And if you have maybe any concerns about it, then we're happy to direct you to the right resources if we can't help you. But we've definitely got some more content coming up for you guys. We're going to be talking a lot more about the business side of things, how to get your finances right. Obviously, we're covering some of these health topics right now. We want to start covering some of the financial stuff too, because obviously part of being a man is getting your finances right, being on top of your health, that kind of stuff too. So we're going to be talking a lot more about this stuff as we come up. We're going to start posting videos on Tuesdays, and that's going to be really the entrepreneurship day. Yep. And we're going to have more courses coming into our community too. So if you guys want to join that community, please let me know. Go to our website, drop us a message there. And we're happy to kind of direct you to where that is right now too, because we want to help you guys maximize your money. We want to help you guys come up with that side hustle, whatever you need to make sure that you can own your life. And like a lot of that comes down to having the right amount of energy, having the right amount of money so that you can have ultimate freedom and really get on that path and purpose.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And Chase is going to be spearheading a lot of that. Obviously, I've been self-employed for 20-something years. And I will do some videos as well on real estate because that's kind of a wheelhouse of mine. Franchising, that because I'm involved with that. But for, I don't want to say easier because no business is easier, but for some businesses that you can start up quicker with less capital, basically a phone and a computer, that's Chase's wheelhouse. The dude lives in Mexico with his family. And if he decided to and he wanted to just bounce around continent to continent, he still has his business. It's on his phone. Now, this is something he's been teaching me more on because I was more traditional business. Oh, buy income property, buy this, do that. I've noticed that the stuff that he does or he's helped my companies do is automations. And so he's going to talk a lot about that and how to automate. Yep. Even if you have a business now, and it could be a mom and pop shop, how to get exposure is another great thing. Like automations, how to let people know who you are, where you are, what you do. Right. And it's all through internet. Guys, if he hasn't taught me anything else, is massive exposure on the internet. And I just started doing this, and we're going to ramp up even more. But you have to let people know who you are. So yeah, there's traditional businesses that we'll talk a little bit about, but I'm actually getting out of a lot of those. I'm kind of going over to Team Chase on those types of businesses because I don't mind working 12, 14 hours a day. I'd rather just do it on my computer or not where I am. And so he's been teaching me a lot about that. So Tuesdays are going to be his wheelhouse. He has coaching on that as well. I want you guys to understand that. Like you can book a call with him and talk about your own business now. You could have a business. Dude, he'll tell you if your website's garbage. He'll look it right up and say, dude, you don't even have SEO in here. You're not ranked. You're not this. You can pay
100%. Yep.
You can pay for his services for that as well. So it's not just coaching on the relationship side, which I deal with. It's almost marrying them both because any business that you have now or want to start, there is a relationship involved in it. You're still dealing with people. You're still dealing with the public. You're still dealing with your own interpersonal dynamics. So we're trying to merge those two to get your mind right to handle something like that. So Again,
Right.
Tuesdays is going to be his wheelhouse for that, and maybe Kim's also hugely knowledgeable on how the computer side works. But yeah, stay tuned for those, and we have some really cool courses coming up on those as well. So we're adding more value. We're trying to give you guys more value. You may not care about the pie in the sky. Yeah, my girlfriend, who gives a crap about that? I want to know how to make money. Well, Tuesdays is what you want to drop in on with Chase then, because he can get you there.
Exactly.
Even if it's you want to make, dude, I want to make $2,000 more a month. I want to keep my job. I have no problem with my job. I just give me $2,000 or $3,000 more a month as a side hustle. We can help you with that.
Yep, exactly.
I want to make $10,000. Well, we can help you with that. There's kids right now, 18, 19 years old, making $30 million a month online. Like, the sky's the limit. So that's where Chase comes in. So I can't wait to start watching those videos myself. And I get a front row seat to him. I have access to him, which is great. But he has access to other coaches who've taught him stuff, which you're going to get through his videos. So I can't wait to watch him. It's going to be awesome.
No, that's exactly right. I've spent more than probably $150,000 over the last 3 years just learning all these business tactics. I've actually been in entrepreneurship for more than 9 years. So what we're going to talk about on Tuesday is the top 5 ways that you can start making $10K a month online. And so obviously this is something that you can do on the side. It's something that you can do as a freelancer. We're going to talk about many different ways, many different business models that are working right now. And that's what we'll be covering over the coming weeks. I'm going to be covering how to make money on YouTube, how you can start and grow your audience, different marketing tactics, all that stuff. So please stay tuned for that stuff. Tune in on Tuesday for that first video, and we will see you guys later. We'll see you guys next Friday, obviously, with another topic, and make sure that you guys have a really good weekend.
Yes, sir. Have a good weekend, guys. Thanks for watching.